Have you ever wondered if the world we live in is really what it seems? What if, with every new day, a part of reality was subtly rewritten and only you noticed? I'm Alex, and for me, every dawn in this city is a puzzle I'm desperately trying to solve. The worst part? I've lived this dawn before. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is the smell of fresh coffee, always, then the sound of seagulls outside, and sunlight filtering through wooden blinds. I'm in my bed. A cozy room with soft blue walls filled with photos that tell me nothing. A smiling face of a woman I assume is my wife. A boy who looks like my son, parents, friends. All strangers, my mind, a blank slate, but my body? Oh, it already knows what to do. A silent, imperceptible routine guides me out of bed to the bathroom where a toothbrush already awaits me. It's like I'm an actor on a stage, following a script that's been written thousands of times, but of which I have no flaws. I know I don't remember anything from yesterday, or last week, or last year. My last piece of memory is always the same, the feeling of closing my eyes the night before, and then, boom, the smell of coffee. It's a vicious cycle that started, I think, weeks ago. Months? It's impossible to say, because every morning is a complete reboot, but it's not a total reboot. There are small echoes, subtle sensations, a twinge in my knee that I know came from a fall that didn't happen. A phrase that comes to mind said by someone I never met. And most importantly, the Nameless City. It's beautiful at first glance. Colorful pastel houses, cobblestone streets, charming shops with display windows full of antiques and local products. The ocean always present with its seagulls and salty scent. The people are friendly, always with a smile on their faces, always ready to chat. But if you look closely, if you really pay attention, you'll see the cracks. The same coffee stain on the bakery sidewalk every day. The same scratch on the lamppost on the corner. The same expression on the old fisherman's face, even if he's selling different fish. It's as if the city is a puppet theater, and each day is the same play, staged with disturbing perfection. Today, when I got up, I felt a different urgency. A voice in my head, not a literal voice, but an overwhelming intuition, told me, "Don't follow the script. Today you break the cycle." I walked down the stairs of my house. The kitchen had brewed coffee and ready toast, as always. My wife, Sarah, sat at the table, the same gentle smile, the same brown eyes that seemed to see through me without truly seeing me. "Good morning, dear," she said, the same phrase as always, but today I didn't answer. I didn't pick up the coffee cup. I turned and went straight for the door. Sarah blinked, surprised, her smile faltering. "Alex? Where are you going? You haven't even eaten." I ignored her. I walked out the door, a wave of adrenaline propelling me. The fresh morning air hit me. The cobblestone streets, the colorful houses, all the same. But my perception was different. I was aware. I started to run. I didn't know where. Just run away from the script. People on the street looked at me with curiosity, some with a hint of alarm. The old fisherman waved, as always. I waved back, but kept running. I reached the central square. There was a bandstand and the same children playing with the same colorful balls. I looked at the clock tower in the square. 8 a.m., always. 8 a.m. when I left the house. Always, I decided to go to the city library. I remembered a phrase that came to mind in one of the echoes. The library holds the thread. I didn't know what it meant, but it was a clue. As I entered, the smell of old paper and dust hit me. The same elderly lady behind the counter, reading the same book. I went straight to the local history section. There weren't many books. I picked up a dusty volume, Tales of the Maritime City. I opened the book. The pages were yellowed, the photos faded. There were images of the city identical to what I saw outside, but then I found something. A page was torn, a piece ripped out, and the caption below the partially visible photo read, "The Great Forgetting... My heart raced. Forgetting, that was it. I felt an invisible hand on my shoulder. I turned sharply. There was no one. But the librarian was looking at me, her eyes fixed on me without the usual cordiality. There was something empty in her gaze. A glint I had never noticed before. I rushed out of the library. The sun was stronger now. I needed more information. Where else could I find something that wasn't part of the script? I ran to the harbor. The same fishing boats gently swaying, the same fishermen mending their nets. I looked at the lighthouse at the end of the breakwater, always inactive with its faded stone tower, but today I noticed something. A very faint, almost imperceptible glow coming from the top. It was as if the light was about to turn on. One of the fishermen, a big bearded man I had seen in previous cycles, approached me. He had a friendly smile, but his eyes, like the librarian's, had a disturbing emptiness. "Good morning, Alex. Beautiful morning for fishing, isn't it?" "Good morning," I replied, trying to sound normal. "Do you know anything about the lighthouse? Has it always been inactive?" His smile stiffened slightly. "The lighthouse? Oh, the lighthouse has been broken for years, my boy. It doesn't work. But I think I saw a light." The fisherman stepped closer and his smile became a little forced. "You must be imagining things, Alex. Happens with the sun so strong. Why don't you go home and have some coffee?" Sarah must be worried. I felt a chill. He knew my name and he knew Sarah's. And the script didn't include questioning the lighthouse. I turned and started to run, not home, to the lighthouse. It was the only thing that didn't fit perfectly into the scenery. The only real clue, the path to the lighthouse was long and rocky. I stumbled several times, my breath heavy, but the urgency propelled me. I reached the base of the tower. The metal door was rusty, but not locked. I pushed it open. A sharp creak echoed in the silence of the place. Inside, the darkness was almost total, with the smell of mold and salt. The spiral stairs disappeared into the gloom. I started to climb. My steps were hesitant at first, but then gained rhythm. Each step brought me closer to that faint glow I was sure I had seen. I reached the lantern room. Dust covered everything. The giant lens was foggy, but there, right in the center, was a small orb of light, pulsating softly. It wasn't an old lamp, but a sphere of pure energy. It was the glow I had seen. As I approached the orb, I felt a wave of energy hit me. It wasn't painful, but electrifying, and then I heard voices. Not whispers, but a cacophony of voices, overlapping, all speaking at once. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of voices, all talking about the Nameless City, about the great forgetting, about the cycle. One of the voices stood out, clearer than the others, a calm, feminine voice. "You're noticing, Alex. Good. The script can't hold you forever." My heart pounded uncontrollably. "Who are you?" The voice laughed, a faint, melancholic sound. "Apart. Like you? The clock is ticking, Alex. You don't have much time." The orb of light began to flash faster, to glow intensely. The voices grew louder, becoming a deafening chorus. I felt the same sharp headache I always felt in the mornings. The light in the lantern room became unbearable, flooding everything with a dazzling white. My knees gave out. I fell to the dusty floor, the pain consuming me. The world spun and dissolved in a flash. Have you ever felt the cold dread of recognition? Seeing something for the first time, yet knowing, deep down, you've seen it countless times before? I'm Alex, and for me, every dawn in this city is a fresh start for the world, but a chilling déjà vu for me. The Nameless City keeps its secrets well, but I'm learning its rhythms, its echoes. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is the smell of fresh coffee, always. Then, the sound of seagulls outside, and sunlight filtered through wooden blinds. I'm in my bed, the blue walls, the photos of strangers, my mind a blank slate almost. This time, the memory of the lighthouse, the pulsating orb, the cacophony of voices, and the blinding white light. It's all there, a raw, burning residue behind my eyes. The great forgetting didn't erase it. This time, I remembered the reboot. I got out of bed with a new kind of urgency. No more fumbling, no more playing the part of the unaware newcomer. My body moved with a purpose, fueled by the terrifying knowledge of the cycle. I looked at my hands, at my reflection. My eyes held not just panic, but a grim determination. I was Alex and I was breaking the script. I strode downstairs. Sarah was in the kitchen, same gentle smile, same empty gaze. "Good morning, dear," she said. "Good morning, Sarah," I replied, my voice steady. I walked past the untouched coffee and toast, straight for the door. She faltered, her smile slipping. "Alex, are you all right? You seem different today." I didn't answer, but I paused for a second at the threshold. Did she notice? A flicker in her eyes, gone in an instant. Just a glitch in the script. I pushed the door open. The fresh morning air, the pastel houses, the cobblestones. All the same, but I was different. I was armed with knowledge. I didn't run towards the library or the harbor today. I had a new target, one hinted at by the voices in the lighthouse. My previous self, the one who lived through the previous loop, had been told, "You don't have much time." Time. And the first thing I noticed today, beyond the usual hum of the city, was a subtle, almost imperceptible ticking sound. It wasn't coming from the clock tower. It was everywhere, a low, mechanical pulse beneath the cheerful facade of the Nameless City. I walked faster, my senses alert. I found myself drawn towards the City Hall, a grand stone building in the heart of the main square, usually bustling with activity. Today, the activity felt people moved with a subtle stiffness, their smiles a fraction too wide. As I passed the bakery, I noticed the same coffee stain on the sidewalk, exactly the same as yesterday. But now I also saw a tiny, shimmering distortion above it, like heat haze. The city wasn't just repeating. It was a flawed recording. I reached the city hall. The massive oak doors were usually open, but today they were slightly ajar, letting out a faint, rhythmic thump, 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 thump. This wasn't part of the routine. I knew it. This was the anomaly. I pushed the doors open slowly. The lobby was vast and empty, lit by chandeliers that seemed to hum with the same subtle ticking. The air here was heavy, like the lighthouse, carrying a faint metallic scent. On the main wall, usually adorned with portraits of past mayors, a large ornate map of the Nameless City was displayed. It was old, faded, but I saw something new on it. A series of small, glowing symbols like ancient runes pulsed faintly over various locations on the map: the library, the harbor, the central square, and crucially, the lighthouse. But there was one more symbol, larger and brighter than the others, located in an area marked Restricted Access Old District. It wasn't on the usual tourist maps. The thump, thump, thump grew louder, coming from deeper inside the building. I followed the sound, moving silently through empty offices, past dusty desks and closed doors. The ticking was almost deafening now, vibrating through the floor. It led me to a heavy steel door, unlike any other in the building, marked with a single, unreadable symbol that matched the one on the map. I put my ear to the door. The thumping intensified, accompanied by a low, mechanical whirring. It was coming from behind here, the core, the source of the ticking. I tried the handle, locked, of course, but my hand brushed against a small, almost invisible panel on the wall next to the door. I pressed it. A soft click. A tiny green light flickered. A voice, the same calm, feminine voice from the lighthouse, echoed in my mind. "Clever, Alex, but some locks require more than a touch." The green light turned red. The voice added, "You need a key, a temporal key, and you're running out of time." Suddenly, the door behind me, the one leading back to the lobby, slammed shut with a reverberating clang. The lights in the corridor flickered violently. Panic surged, raw and immediate. I was trapped. I pounded on the steel door, shouting, "What key?" "What do you mean, running out of time?" The voice in my head was fainter now, almost fading. "The lighthouse ... it stores ... The echoes. And then nothing. Only the incessant thump, thump, thump from behind the steel door, getting faster. I checked my watch. 8:45 a.m. This was later than I had ever gotten in any previous cycle. The script was broken, but what did that mean for the city? For me, I heard footsteps. Heavy, slow, rhythmic, approaching from the lobby. Not the light, hurried steps of the townspeople. These were deliberate. And there was more than one. The lights in the corridor went out completely, plunging me into absolute darkness. Only the faint, pulsing red light of the panel by the steel door remained, and the relentless thump, thump, thump. I pressed myself against the wall, straining my ears. The footsteps stopped right outside the lobby door. A low growl, barely human, echoed in the darkness. Then, a chilling scraping sound, like heavy metal dragging across the stone floor. It was getting closer. The pain hit me. Not the familiar headache from the reboot, but a searing, agonizing pain in my chest. Spreading rapidly, my lungs seized. I choked, gasping for air that wouldn't come. My vision swam. Darkness, absolute and consuming, swallowed me. The last thing I heard, as the pain overwhelmed me and the world dissolved, was a faint, new whisper indistinguishable from the ticking. The cycle protects. Have you ever experienced a memory that isn't yours, yet feels as real as your own breath? I'm Alex, and the Nameless City keeps trying to reset me, but its script is failing. The echoes are growing louder, clearer. I'm accumulating the past, a mosaic of forgotten moments, and the truth is far more terrifying than the blank slate. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is the smell of fresh coffee, always, then the sound of seagulls, the sunlight. I'm in my bed. Blue walls, photos of strangers. My mind, no longer blank, but a swirling vortex of fragmented experiences. The lighthouse, the orb, the voices. The city hall, the glowing map, the steel door, and the thump, 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 thump. And the agonizing pain, the last thing I felt before the last reboot. The cycle protects. The whisper echoed in my thoughts, a chilling lullaby. I got out of bed with a cold, almost mechanical precision. My body moved with a preternatural awareness, bypassing the usual morning routine. Sarah's "Good morning, dear" was met with silence as I strode directly to the front door, her smile fixed and empty. The city, a perfect tableau outside, but the illusion was cracking. My priority today wasn't the library or the lighthouse. It was the temporal key. The calm, feminine voice from the lighthouse had told me I needed it, that I was running out of time. And the thump, thump, thump from the city hall indicated a central mechanism. I needed to understand the cycle it protected. As I walked, I noticed the subtle ticking sound permeating the air, a low frequency beneath the city's cheerful hum. It was omnipresent, like a low-grade fever. The coffee stain on the bakery sidewalk, the scratch on the lamppost, the forced smiles of the townspeople, their eyes holding that unsettling emptiness, like puppets on strings. My awareness was sharper, my senses heightened. I saw the shimmering distortions above certain objects, like ripples in a pond, confirming that reality here was flimsy. I made my way directly to the city hall. The massive oak doors were closed today, but not fully. A sliver of darkness showed through the crack, and I could hear the faint, insistent thump, thump, thump from within. I pushed the doors open. The lobby was as vast and empty as before, lit by the humming chandeliers. The ornate map on the wall now glowed with an eerie green light, the symbols pulsing with a disturbing rhythm. The larger, brighter symbol over the restricted access, Old District, pulsed faster than the rest. I followed the thumping, straight to the heavy steel door. This time I knew about the invisible panel. I pressed it. The tiny green light flickered, then turned red. As the voice from the lighthouse echoed in my mind, some locks require more than a touch. You need a key, a temporal key. I pounded on the door. Where is it? What is it? The voice replied clearer than before, almost resonating from the very walls. The keeper. The keeper holds the key, the one who tends to the cycles. Who is the keeper? I demanded, my voice raw. The one who ensures the dawn? The voice replied, cryptic and elusive. The oldest inhabitant, the one who never changes. My mind raced through the faces I knew, the repeating figures of the Nameless City. The fisherman, the librarian, Sarah, all changed subtly with each cycle, or rather, I perceived their emptiness more clearly. But one remained absolutely constant, a fixture, an unblinking eye of the city, the old clockmaker. His shop was always open, exactly at 8:15 a.m., located on a quiet side street near the central square. He was always meticulously polishing antique gears, his face lined with an unnatural stillness, a timeless quality. I had dismissed him as part of the benign background noise, a detail in the script. But now it clicked. The clockmaker, the keeper, the one who tended to time. I checked my watch, 8:30 a.m. I still had a chance. I sprinted out of the city hall, the thump, thump, thump of the mechanism growing in urgency behind me. The footsteps from the previous cycle, the protectors of the cycle, had undisappeared yet. I had broken the script earlier. I ran through the familiar streets, past the unchanging scenery, fueled by a frantic hope. I reached the clockmaker's shop. The bell above the door chimed as I entered, a sound that seemed to reverberate through time itself. The shop was a symphony of ticking and whirring, hundreds of clocks of all shapes and sizes adorning every surface. The air smelled of oil, brass, and old wood. The clockmaker, a wizened old man with surprisingly sharp, intelligent eyes behind thick spectacles, looked up from a delicate mechanism. He wore a pristine white smock, unmarked by dust or grime. "Ah, Alex," he said, his voice surprisingly deep and resonant, not the frail murmur I expected. "Right on time. Or perhaps a little early today." My breath hitched. He knew, not just my name, but my deviation from the script. "You know about the cycle?" I stated, my voice barely a whisper. "You're the keeper." He smiled, a slow, knowing smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Indeed, a heavy burden, keeping the dawn. A necessary one, to protect what lies outside." He gestured vaguely to the shop window, to the unchanging streets. "This city is a sanctuary, a bubble, and the cycle it maintains the bubble." "The temporal key?" I pressed, my heart pounding. The voice told me I need a temporal key to open the door in City Hall. "To stop the cycle," the clockmaker sighed, his gaze distant. "Stop the cycle? My dear boy, you cannot stop the dawn. You can only delay it or redirect it." He picked up a small, intricately carved wooden box from his workbench. It hummed softly. "The key is not a physical object, Alex. It is a frequency. A specific temporal frequency that unlocks the next phase." He opened the box. Inside, resting on velvet, was a single, tiny, luminous gear made of what looked like solidified starlight. It pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow, humming in perfect sync with the ticking of the hundreds of clocks. "This is the core, the heart of the key, but it needs to be activated." "How?" "By aligning it. By experiencing a moment of perfect temporal synchronicity. A moment where the past, present, and future converge. You experienced one, didn't you? In the lighthouse, when the voices spoke through the orb." My mind flashed back to the blinding light, the cacophony of voices. "But what does it do?" He reached out and gently placed the luminous gear in my palm. It felt warm, vibrating. "It allows you to perceive, to understand, to unlock the final door. But be warned, Alex, once you activate this key, there's no going back. The cycle will not merely restart, it will adapt, and the protectors ... they will know." Suddenly, the ticking in the shop intensified, becoming frantic. The humming from the gear in my hand pulsed violently. The clockmaker's eyes widened in alarm. "They are here! The protectors! You broke the script too early today." Heavy, metallic scraping sounds echoed from outside the shop. The windows rattled. The air grew heavy, thick with a cold, unnatural presence. The charming facade of the Nameless City began to shimmer violently, like a mirage. The clockmaker pushed me towards a back door, hidden behind a tall grandfather clock. "Go! The old district! The core! You must activate the key there!" "It's your only chance." I heard the front door of the shop splintering, a guttural growl, closer now. I gripped the luminous gear, its light pulsating in my hand. The clockmaker's face was etched with a grim urgency. "Remember the first rule, Alex?" he shouted as the door behind me burst open. "The cycle protects, and it doesn't like change?" The pain hit me, a crushing force like 1,000 invisible hands tearing at my mind. The light from the gear intensified to a blinding supernova. The world dissolved, not in a flash, but in a chaotic maelstrom of light, sound, and a desperate internal scream. Have you ever felt the threads of reality fraying around you, pulled taut by an unseen force? I'm Alex, and the Nameless City is more than a loop. It's a living prison, and I'm its only conscious inmate. Every dawn brings the familiar scent of coffee, the gentle sounds of a waking city, but now, it also brings the chilling clarity of what's truly at stake. The memories of past cycles, the grim revelations from the clockmaker, they're not just echoes. They're my accumulating truth, a heavy burden in a world designed to forget. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is the smell of fresh coffee, always. Then the sound of seagulls, the sunlight. I'm in my bed. Blue walls, photos of strangers. My mind, now a repository of terrifying knowledge. The lighthouse, the orb, the voices, the city hall, the glowing map, the steel door, the thump, thump, thump. The clockmaker, the luminous gear pulsing in my hand. and the chilling roar of the protectors before the blinding light. The cycle protects, and it doesn't like change. His words, a final warning, resonated in my thoughts. I got out of bed with a desperate urgency. My body moved with an almost frantic energy, bypassing the morning routine completely. Sarah's "Good morning, dear" faded behind me as I sprinted out the front door. I barely registered her startled expression, her hand reaching out for me. Today was different. Today I had a purpose. The city hummed with its usual cheerful, yet unsettling, facade. But now, the underlying ticking sound was more pronounced, a relentless metronome accompanying my every step. The shimmering distortions above certain objects were more frequent, like glimpses of a distorted reality trying to break through. The forced smiles of the townspeople seemed to stretch unnaturally, their empty eyes following me. The script was not just cracking, it was tearing. My goal was clear: the old district. The location of the central symbol on the city hall map. The core, the place where the temporal key, the luminous gear clutched tightly in my hand, needed to be activated. The clockmaker had said it was my only chance. I didn't take the main roads. I navigated through narrow alleyways, cutting between buildings, following an instinct born of accumulated cycles and newfound awareness. The air grew heavier here, colder, carrying a faint, acrid scent like ozone and old metal. The vibrant pastel colors of the city faded into muted grays and browns as I entered the old district. This place was different. It felt raw, untouched by the cheerful facade, almost real. The buildings here were older, more dilapidated, many boarded up. The streets were cracked, overgrown with weeds. The silence was not the city's manufactured hum, but a profound, oppressive stillness, broken only by the incessant thump-thump-thump that was now a roaring pulse, reverberating through the ground beneath my feet. Ahead, I saw it. The source of the thumping. A massive, brutalist structure, unlike anything else in the city. It wasn't quaint or charming. It was cold, industrial, made of dark, rough-hewn stone and jagged metal. There were no windows, only a single, colossal steel door, identical in design to the one inside City Hall, but many times larger. The same unreadable symbol, pulsing with a malevolent red light, was etched into its surface. This was the core. As I approached, the ground vibrated violently. The air was thick with the scent of ozone. The luminous gear in my hand began to throb, its light intensifying, humming a desperate counter-melody to the core's thunderous thump-thump-thump. Suddenly, the ground before the door ruptured, not a natural crack, but a deliberate mechanical split. From the depths below, two figures emerged. They were humanoid, but not human. Tall, gaunt, their forms cloaked in what looked like dark, metallic cloth, seamlessly integrated into their bodies. Their heads were smooth, featureless, with no eyes. Nose or mouth, only a faint, pulsing red light where their faces should be. Their movements were slow, deliberate, unnervingly powerful. These were the protectors the clockmaker had warned me about. They didn't speak. They radiated a chilling, silent malevolence. They spread out, blocking my path to the steel door, their arms hanging loosely at their sides, their featureless heads slowly turning to face me. My heart pounded. This was it. The confrontation. I gripped the luminous gear. Its light pulsed violently, almost painfully in my palm. The voice of the clockmaker echoed in my mind. The key is not a physical object. It allows you to perceive, to understand, to unlock the final door. You must activate the key there, the core. I needed to get to the core. I took a shaky breath. What do you want? I demanded, my voice trembling. The protectors remained silent, unmoving. One of them slowly raised an arm, its metallic fingers extending, pointing directly at me. The other protector mirrored the gesture. They weren't communicating verbally, they were dotting to each other, to the core. Then the air around them began to distort, shimmering like intense heat haze, but it was cold, not hot. The distortions intensified, expanding, forming a barrier between me and the massive door. It was a temporal distortion field, crackling with raw energy. The luminous gear in my hand throbbed, resonating with the field. I realized what I had to do. I couldn't fight them, not directly, I had to use the key. I raised the luminous gear, holding it out towards the steel door, towards the heart of the core. As I did, the voices from the lighthouse orb returned, a desperate, overlapping chorus in my mind. The cycle protects, the knowledge ... truth. I focused all my will on the luminous gear, willing it to activate, to open the door, to reveal the final layer of this terrifying reality. The pain in my head returned, a searing, white-hot agony, worse than any previous reboot. It was the cost. The cost of gaining this forbidden knowledge, of trying to break the loop. The gear pulsed wildly, then erupted in a blinding flash of pure, concentrated light. The temporal distortion field around the protectors shattered with a deafening crack like glass breaking. The protectors themselves reeled, their featureless heads twitching violently, their movements becoming erratic. The colossal steel door before me began to hum, vibrating, and then slowly, agonizingly, it started to open. A sliver of blinding white light emerged from within, growing wider. But as the door opened, the luminous gear in my hand dissolved into nothingness, leaving only a burning residue on my palm. And the pain in my head intensified to an unbearable crescendo. The world tilted. The white light from the doorway swallowed everything, consuming the old district, the protectors, the Nameless City itself. My knees buckled. I felt no longer feeling the ground beneath me, suspended in an abyss of pure white. A final, desperate thought as my consciousness fragmented. What ... Have you ever looked into an abyss, not of darkness, but of pure, blinding possibility, and felt yourself unraveling? I'm Alex, and the Nameless City wasn't just a loop. It was a single, carefully constructed moment, repeated infinitely, but I broke it. I paid the price. And now, the dawn is ... different. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is ... nothing. No smell of coffee, no sound of seagulls. No blue walls. I'm suspended in an expanse of pure, blinding white light. It's not a room, not a void, but a sensation of infinite space, devoid of any sensory input except for the light itself. My body feels weightless, formless. My mind, however, is sharper than ever. The memories of all the cycles, the routine, the library, the lighthouse, the orb, the clockmaker, the protectors, the steel door, and the searing pain of the key's activation, they are all perfectly clear, arranged like constellations in my consciousness. I am no longer just Alex. I am the culmination of countless iterations, a sentient repository of the Nameless City's secrets. The clockmaker's words echo, not as an external voice, but as an intrinsic part of my being. The key is not a physical object. It allows you to perceive, to understand, to unlock the final door. But be warned, Alex, once you activate this key, there's no going back. The cycle will not merely restart, it will adapt. And the protectors ... they will know. And the core's final whisper, the cycle protects ... I understand now. The Nameless City wasn't a punishment, but a containment. A single, fragile moment in time, duplicated endlessly, a carefully maintained loop designed to protect something. Or someone, me. The protectors were not guarding the loop from me, but guarding me within the loop, preventing my escape, preventing the accumulated knowledge from triggering something far worse. The headache of each reboot wasn't just a memory wipe. It was a temporal decompression, an attempt by the system to prevent my consciousness from expanding beyond its limits. The cycle cost was my sanity, my identity, my very essence, slowly drained to maintain the illusion. And the steel door in the old district? That wasn't just the core of the city. It was the boundary, the edge of the bubble. As I float in this infinite white, I sense a vibration. A low hum, different from the city's hum, different from the orb's pulse. This hum is vast, ancient, raw. It's the hum of reality itself, the true fabric of existence that the Nameless City was shielding me from. And then I see them. Not with my eyes, for I have none in this form, but with my expanded consciousness. They are structures. Impossibly vast, ethereal constructs of pure energy stretching across this infinite white expanse. They are not built, but grown. They pulse with light and shadows, shifting, changing. And I realize with a chilling clarity that these are the true architects of this reality, or perhaps what remains of them. one of the structures begins to coalesce, forming a recognizable shape. A hand, impossibly large, made of pure light and swirling cosmic dust. It reaches out towards me, not with malice, but with a terrifying, indifferent curiosity. And then the memories of the clockmaker's final warning hit me with full force. The cycle protects, and it doesn't like change. The Nameless City was a shield. A carefully crafted illusion, a repeated moment designed to hide me from this. From them, by using the temporal key, by accumulating knowledge and breaking the script, I didn't escape. I revealed myself. I exposed the bubble that was meant to contain me, and now they know I'm here. The hand of light touches me. It's not painful, but the sensation is overwhelming. It's like my entire being is being mapped, analyzed, absorbed. My consciousness expands further, beyond human comprehension, taking in truths that would shatter a lesser mind. I see the universe not as stars and planets, but as a vast, intricate web of temporal loops, realities constantly folding and unfolding. The Nameless City was just one tiny, insignificant knot in this infinite tapestry. The truth is unbearable. The great forgetting wasn't a bug, it was a feature, it was mercy. By forgetting, I was protected from the scale of what truly exists and from my own purpose within it. My awareness, now vast and terrifyingly complete, begins to fracture. The temporal decompression from the reboots was small, controlled. This is total. I am being pulled apart, absorbed into the grand design. My individual consciousness, Alex, Lena, whatever I was, is dissolving. But then a final, desperate surge of will. A single burning thought. No, I will not be merely a part. I will not be absorbed. I don't know how, but I focus every fiber of my being on a single point. The very beginning, the first feeling. The smell of coffee, the sound of seagulls, the blue walls, the familiar. The safe, the loop, it's a desperate gamble. A final attempt to restart the most fundamental script. To rebuild the bubble around myself, even if it means losing all the terrifying knowledge I just gained. To forget again. To be safe. The infinite white begins to ripple. The colossal hand of light recoils, surprised. The hum of reality distorts, a momentary glitch in its vast symphony. A flash, not painful this time, but a familiar, soothing white. A gentle pressure behind my eyes, pushing, pulling. Then, slowly, sensations return. A subtle warmth, the sound of distant seagulls, a faint, comforting aroma. The first thing I feel when I open my eyes is the smell of fresh coffee. Always, then the sound of gavotas lofora, a luz solar filtrata pelas persianas de Madeira, eu istuna minha cama. Cordo aconchegantai, com paredes de tom suave da azul, cheias de fotos que na me dizem nada. Rosto sordent de uma mulher que imagino ser minha esposa, garoto que parece mu filho, pais amigos, todos estranhos, a minha uma tila em branco. Mas meu corpo? LJ sabio que fazer. Uma rotina silenciosa e imperceptível me guia para fora da cama, e o banheiro onde uma escova de dentes já me espera. E como sei eu faço eternum palco segundo roteiro que foi escrito milhares de vezes, mas do qual eu não tenho as falhas? E eu sei que não me lembro de nada do dia anterior? Ou da semana passada? Ou do ano passado? Meu último pedaço de memória e sempre o mesmo, a sensa cau de fecar os olhos na noite anterior, e intuo boom o cairo de café, e ciclo vicioso que kamakuo e o aco ha semanas, meses, e impossible dizer, por cada menha, e uma reinicializaco completa. But this time, a tiny, almost imperceptible detail. On my right hand, a faint, shimmering outline of a small, luminous gear momentarily glows on my palm, then vanishes. A ghost of a memory, a scar from a truth that just barely made it through the reboot.